The last bell of evening trembled across the snow-choked streets of Brindlewick as the sky faded to ash. Shops had shuttered hours ago. Even the tavern's hearthlight had dimmed to embers. Only a single window still glowed on the crooked lane of Paddock Row, the workshop of Gideon Hallow, the town's solitary clockmaker. Inside, brass gears and copper springs lined the walls like constellations of forgotten stars. The smell of oiled wood and soot lingered in the air. Gideon bent over his workbench, spectacles low on his nose, the ticking of dozens of clocks blending into a gentle heartbeat that only he seemed to hear. He was not a man of many words, nor of many visitors. Yet tonight the shop door creaked open. A girl, no more than 10, stood in the doorway, coat hem stiff with frost. Her eyes were bright but wary, and her mittens clutched a broken pocket watch, as though it were a piece of her own heart. "Are you the clockmaker?" she asked. Gideon straightened, joints cracking from hours of stillness. "I am," he said. His voice was low, almost swallowed by the ticking chorus. "And you are out past curfew." The girl stepped inside, snowflakes tumbling from her braids. "It's my father's watch. He isn't coming home tonight. They said the storm might keep him away. But this watch, he said it keeps us together." She held it out with trembling hands. It stopped. Gideon took the watch carefully. The case bore an engraving, EH to LH, time is the promise. A shiver rippled through him. He knew those initials. Long ago, before his hair turned white, he too had once stood in a storm, clutching a similar watch. He blinked away the memory. "It is a fine piece," he murmured, "but the mainspring is wound too tight." He set to work, his tools clicking like quiet thunder. The girl wandered among the shelves, peering at clocks that chimed without warning, some slow and mournful, others bright as birdsong. "Why so many?" she whispered. "They each keep a different hour," Gideon replied without looking up. "Every clock remembers a different story, sometimes a promise." Her gaze settled on a tall, dark grandfather clock in the corner. Its pendulum swung with a deliberate, heavy rhythm. "What story does that one remember?" Gideon's hand paused. "That one remembers a promise I have yet to keep." Silence settled between the ticks. Outside, the wind howled like an animal lost in the hills. "Did you break it?" the girl asked softly. Gideon exhaled. "Perhaps. Or perhaps I have only been late." He replaced the mainspring and closed the watch. "There," he said. "It will keep time again." But when he handed it back, the girl shook her head. "Listen," she whispered. All the clocks had stopped. The workshop, usually alive with ticking, lay in sudden, impossible stillness. Even the storm's wail seemed distant, as if the night itself held its breath. Gideon's heart thudded. He checked the nearest clock. Its pendulum hung frozen mid-swing. "This cannot be," he murmured. "Not all at once." The girl looked up at him with eyes like moonlit glass. "Time is waiting for you." Before he could speak, the tall grandfather clock chimed a single note, deep and sorrowful. The sound vibrated through the floorboards and into Gideon's bones. The door of the clock eased open, revealing not gears but a darkness that shimmered like water. He stepped back. "What trickery!" "Your promise," the girl said. "It's time." Memories flooded him. A winter decades past, a woman named Lillian waiting at the station, her breath silver in the night. He had promised to return before the year's end. But work had called him away. Then pride, then fear. By the time he returned, she was gone, taken by fever, the promise unkept. Gideon's throat tightened. "I was too late," he whispered. The girl held the watch close to her chest. "Not if you enter now." The dark inside the clock pulsed like a heartbeat. He felt the pull of it, soft yet undeniable. The weight of years pressed on him, every missed letter, every silent evening. He looked to the girl. "Who are you?" She smiled faintly. "Someone who remembers." He stepped toward the clock. The darkness smelled of pine and distant smoke, the scent of a station long vanished. He crossed the threshold. Cold air wrapped around him. He stood on the very platform where he had once left her, snow falling like slow sparks. There she was, Lillian, turning at the sound of his footsteps, her eyes widening not with anger but with recognition. "You came back," she said, her voice a gentle tide. "I am late," he replied, tears burning his eyes. "Time is a promise," she said, taking his hand, "not a prison." The station bell rang once and the world dissolved into light. When Gideon awoke, he was back in his workshop. The clocks ticked in perfect harmony. The girl was gone, but on the workbench lay the pocket watch, its hands set precisely to midnight. Beside it rested a small slip of paper. "Every promise kept is time returned." Gideon closed his eyes and for the first time in decades felt the weight of the years lift. Outside, the storm passed, leaving the quiet brilliance of a new dawn.